Canvases of St. John that are currently on exhibit at the New Brunswick Museum. And just a final note before I conclude, two of these panoramas go together. And so in a gesture of solidarity, the paintings of course are on sale and they're fairly substantial in price, but two of these paintings go together as a pair. And so as a show of our solidarity, the New Brunswick Museum is purchasing one. The University of New Brunswick is purchasing one. So if we ever need to show these paintings together, we can bring them together. Look, I'll end on that note, and I'd be happy to take any questions if we still have any time. I did have some comments on the challenges and so on, and I'll put those up if you want to take a look, but it's basically, these are some of the challenges that I'm sure your KISS project will be dealing with as well.
Justin, thank you so much, Dr. McKinnon. And just in the interest of time, we will field 2 questions, only 2 questions. So we will pause. We will start at the back. Paul French.
Yes, Dr. McKinnon. From the research that you've been involved in, either whether it's in Industrial City or other areas, have you found that you are actually making inroads in terms of helping to inform and maybe even influence policy and program development as related to that very specific topic? Or is it still very much sort of in the academic field, yes, this is nice and good?
Yeah. That's a good question. It's hard to measure that. And as I mentioned obliquely, you know, when I heard the police chief talking about the neighborhood in the context of how our study described it, that told me he's reading it, he's listening, and now they're locating a community policing station in an area where we said you need to do some work here. It's hard to put your finger on any one study, but what I can say is this project has really raised the profile of the university. There's a major initiative underway now being supported by the Provincial Department of Social Development in New Brunswick to address some of the poverty concerns, particularly in St. John, but in other cities as well. And we've been approached, the university has been approached to be a key part of their strategy. So we're sitting at the table with the developer who they're bringing in to try and solve some of the problems associated with these 1970s public housing projects that were put in place to replace the urban renewal projects that took place in the 1960s. So we've been approached to sit at the table, so I then could go to my sociologist and my economist and my historian who are interested and invite them to the table to sit down with the developer that the province has hired to try and think about it. So those are the kinds of ways. It's really hard to say this study has resulted in that policy change, but over time, now that this is 5 years and nearly behind me, and in my new role as vice president, when I'm getting asked by the provincial minister of social development to find some university people to sit at the table with their strategy session, it makes me feel like we're making progress. So does that answer your question? I mean, it's really hard to put a final number on it and to see the direct link, but I think you can see the policy implications, yes.
And we'll take just one other question. There are a number of breaks still remaining throughout the day, and I encourage you to see Dr. McKinnon in the breaks. Brenda Wilson.
Thanks very much. We were always envious throughout the last decade or so of New Brunswick's move to broadband. And I didn't notice a lot of mention of broadband. Is that because it's ubiquitous there now, or is it because you know, that's a problem that's been taken care of and you just take that for granted? And how is it impacted on development?
It's certainly ubiquitous in the area, in this region, Greater St. John. It's been a big part of it. The rest of the province, I think there have been some tremendous inroads made there. It's not something we were looking at in this project.
As far as economic development?
It's a big part of the economic development strategy of the rural regions to be able to access broadband, certainly. My collaborator on the KISS project will be able to answer that definitively. I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's ubiquitous across the province, starting with McKenna, Premier McKenna, and it's been a key part of the development strategy, particularly in the north, northeast, northwest, outside the urban areas. Certainly the urban areas are very well connected. the urban region.
Part of the work that I do is trying to connect economic progress with broadband outlay. And I'd just be interested if that made a difference.
Yeah, and again, I can't answer that. I think it has. My collaborator on the KISS project would certainly, I would defer to her on that one.
Okay, and I know that there are others, but I'm asking you to restrain yourself. Could we please join me in thanking Dr. Robert McKinnon?
Thank you.